Skellig Chapter 41. I was wrong. She wasn't dead. She was in a long deep sleep that followed the anaesthetic. She was snoring gently beneath white blankets. Mum told us about the great wound in her tiny chest and the massive bandage that covered it. There were wires and tubes again, and a machine that bleeped in rhythm with her tiny heart. "They said everything's going to be all right now, Michael," she said. "They're sure everything will be all right." We sat there, the three of us, holding hands, looking down at the delicate creature. "They said there was a moment when they thought they'd lost her," she said. She put her arm around me, but she burst into life again. A nurse came. She checked the wires and the tubes and the machine, and she patted my head. "Your sister has got a heart of fire," she said. "She's a little fighter. She won't give in." "You still say your prayers for her?" asked Mum. "Yes," I said. "We've been wondering again what to call her," said Dad. "Persephone," I said. They laughed. "That's too much of a mouthful," said Dad. "It has to be something very little and very strong," Mum said, "just like she is." "We could call her Gus," said Dad, and we giggled. "Butch," I said. "Garth," said Mum. "Look," said Mum, "she's dreaming." And she was. Her eyes were moving behind their lids. "Wonder what she sees," said Dad. "Oh, only nice things, I hope," said Mum. "I'm sure that's right," said Dad. "Look at her face, sweet and still, nearly smiling. Little angel. I know, we could call her Angela." "No, too long." "It was the strangest thing," said Mum. She stopped and shook her head. "What was?" said Dad. She crinkled her face up like she was a little bit embarrassed. "Well," she said, "I was laying here last night, tossing and turning, and I kept looking up, checking on her. Then I'd drop off to sleep. Oh, I had a strange dream." "And?" said Dad. "Well," said Mum, "I know you'll think I'm silly, but I saw this man. Another dream, though, I'm sure. Although I thought I was wide awake. The man was standing over the baby. He was filthy dirty, dressed all in black in an ancient dusty suit. He had a great hunch on his back, and his hair was all matted and tangled. I was terrified. I wanted to reach out to him and push him away. I wanted to scream, 'Get away from our baby!' I wanted to shout for the nurses and the doctors, but I couldn't move. I couldn't speak, and I was sure he was going to take her away, and then he turned and he looked at me. His face was as white and as dry as chalk, and there was such tenderness in his eyes, and for some reason I knew he hadn't come to harm her. I knew it would be all right." She stopped again and shook her head. "And?" said Dad. "And then he reached right down with both hands and lifted her up. She was wide awake. They stared and stared into each other's eyes. He started slowly to turn around." "Like they were dancing?" I said. "Yes, that's right, just like they were dancing. And then the strangest thing of all." She laughed at us. "The strangest thing of all was there were wings on the baby's back, not solid wings, transparent, ghostly, hardly visible, but there they were, little feathery things. It looked so funny. The strange tall man and the little baby and wings, and that was it." He put her back down. He turned and looked at me again, and it was over. I slept like a log for the rest of the night, and when I woke up they were already getting her ready for the operation. But I wasn't worried any more. I kissed her and whispered to her how much we all loved her, and they took her away. But I knew, somehow I knew, it was all going to be all right. "And it is all right," said Dad. "And it is." She poked me in the ribs. "I must have been thinking about what you asked me. What are shoulder blades for, eh?" I smiled and nodded. "Mm-hmm." The baby's eyes kept moving, seeing the things she imagined in her sleep. "Funny little chick," said Dad. "What can she be seeing?" "Skellig," I whispered to myself. "She's seeing Skellig." "It isn't over," said Mum. "You know that, don't you? We'll have to protect her always, especially at first." "I know," I said. "We'll love her and love her and love her." We left soon afterwards. In the corridor I saw Dr. Nabola coming out of the lift with a clutch of students in white coats around him. I told Dad just to wait a minute. I ran to Dr. McNavola. He looked down at me. "Doctor," I said, "I told you about my friend, remember? The one with arthritis?" He puffed out his chest and drew up his shoulders. "Aha!" he said. "So is he ready for my needles and my saw?" "No," I said. "He seems to be getting better." "Splendid," he said. "Cod liver oil and a dose of positive thinking. He may escape me yet." The students giggled. "Can love help a person get better?" I asked. He raised his eyebrows, pursed his lips, and tapped his chin. One of the students took out a notebook and a pencil from her pocket. "Love," said the doctor. What can we doctors know about love, eh?" He winked at the student with the notebook, and she blushed. "Love is the child that breathes our breath. Love is the child that scatters death." "William Blake?" I said. He laughed. "Well, well, well, we have an educated man before us," he said. He smiled properly for the first time. "Tell your friend that I hope he and I never have to meet." And he winked at me, turned, and led the students away. "What was that about?" said Dad when I hurried back to him. "Nothing," I said. "Somebody I met soon after the baby came in." He laughed. "Mystery man, that's who you are." In the car on the way home we wound the windows down, and he sang the Black Hills of Dakota at the top of his voice. I put my hands together and hooted like an owl. "Wow, that's good," he said. "I like that. That's really good. You'll have to show me how to do that one. Not while I'm driving though, eh?" We smiled as we drove through the busy city streets. "She's not out of danger yet," he said. "You do understand this, don't you?" "Yes," I said, "but she will be." "Yes," he yelled. "Yes, I think she blinkin' will be." And he sang again. "Have to get on with that blinkin' house now, eh? I know, we can have 27 and 53 tonight, eh?" 27 and 53, I said. "The sweetest of nectars." "Sweetest of nectars? I like that. Sweetest of nectars," Dad said.